That shit crack.
Peace, 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 family. How you all doing? I hope all is well with you. My name is Keisha. I am the owner of Ascendant Astrology, and I am your astrology coach. And today I'm going to be doing the weekly astrology. If you caught my other video, Venus squaring Uranus, I definitely go back and check that out because it's a continuation of all the Uranus energy that's being activated. I want to give a shout out to somebody who had asked me earlier about Uranus going direct. It doesn't go direct until next week. Um, After the Aquarius new moon. I believe it's the day after, but I can see that people have questions now. So, the weekly astrology is the best way to get answered, to get any questions answered. I do weekly astrologies, for you personally in relation to your birth chart. Okay, it's $20 a month. And you have the opportunity to ask any specific questions you want being a member to that. But you do have to give information. I think there's a misconception about astrology that you're supposed to just get a reading and not ask questions. People, be intentional. Astrology is way too big to leave it up to the astrologer to try to guess to get your answer as correct as possible. It's actually really kind of frustrating as a creative person that people do that because I think we have some really close connection to psychics and being able to read the future. And though some people doing astrology might have that ability, it's not the norm. So treat it more like counseling or life coaching, where you go and you have to give a storyline. Like if you bring your car to the mechanic, they're going to ask you, well, what's wrong? What has been going on? Give them a diagnosis so that they know what to narrow in on so that they can find the issue, right? Same thing when you go to the doctors. Astrology really is no different. If you just get an astrology reading and you just want people to read your chart, I really think it's a waste of money. It's a waste of my time and energy as I'm only one person running an entire astrology business, which might not sound a lot to a lot of people, but it's actually a lot of work. So I'm saying that with the kindest heart, and I hope that I shed some light on at least how I work. I can't speak for other people. It's very, very, very important to try and be a little bit more open with the services that you're asking for and be more intentional with what you're paying for. That's your money. Anyway, I digress. So, with all that being said, I'm going to do a very brief overview of the weekly astrology leading up to this new moon because it is going to be a pretty big deal. And we'll be focusing on this energy and really getting more intentional with this new moon as some of the energies open up and we start our new beginnings for this quote unquote new year, right? So now that I've blapped on my mouth long enough, on Monday, again, if you haven't gone back to my other video to watch this, this is a series that's following the from last Thursday. Okay. So Monday, you're still going to be feeling that Venus and Uranus square. And it could really feel like you need more love, more opportunities, more relationships, or more opportunities for relationships, friendships, and connecting. Venus in Aquarius isn't really that romantic. Instead, It wants space and it wants to connect with groups of people. I think a lot of us are realizing as this week goes on, um, we can get further with peace and harmony, working with others rather than through conflict. And so I think that's really what the break is for, or the space is for, so that we can really speak clearly, ask the right questions. And I think some of us might have to do some internal work because remember, the planets have Mars and Mercury, which also goes direct this week, have come to a complete stop one day, and then the next day they start to move forward faster and faster and faster each day. Now Mars has already had a head start from last week, so it's doing a lot better, but its ruling planet for Mars and Gemini, which is Mercury in Capricorn, has been still in retrograde. And so think of it as like just after you start get over a cold, you're starting to feel better. You're still a little sluggish, but you can get things done. And that's how this energy might really feel. Not to mention Uranus, the ruling planet of this new moon, is going to be going through the same exact thing the next day. It's going to come to a complete stop, and then it's going to start to move forward faster and faster day by day. And so those shadow periods, even though people might not see them or take them seriously, there's something to keep in mind as you are accomplishing goals and setting off to do things. There's nothing wrong with it. Just know the longer you wait, the better the opportunity is because we'll have this energy clear and free until April. But also, if you start something, it's going to come with that same energy, that it's something that's wherever that energy is at speed wise, right? And so, in a sense, take your time getting back into the groove of things before you still make any final decisions. I quite frankly would say a week after this new moon to start really being like, okay, you might even start to feel that a week after, and your mind will change. You'll see that. You'll see a shift in the way that you're thinking about the problems that you're having right now due to retrogrades, right? So just keep that in mind as we're going through this process. Um, okay. And then on Venus will conjunct Saturn. For some of us, we're going to start to see immediately what Saturn and Aquarius, the Saturn and 2 year Saturn and Aquarius transit. Is it 2 or 3? It might be 3. Don't quote me on that. Um, a lot of us are going to see Tuesday what that Saturn and Aquarius transit meant for us. Others, again, um, it might not be that, right? It might still feel like a lack of love, a lack of finances, a lack of support, a lack of friendship, a lack of community, and a lack of union in general with anything or anyone. I think Taurus and Libras are going to feel this the most because it's Venus ruled and they are Venus ruled signs. And then Tuesday, we can get some financial news. Anytime we have a lot of high activation of Uranus energy, Uranus is very up and down, unexpectedly out of nowhere for no reason, like electricity, right? And so we can hear a lot of financial news that's very disturbing, unsettling, worrisome. And so this could kind of flare up fear, anxiety, worry, overthinking, and things of that nature. Or you can feel rushed on a personal level, like, I gotta go get this done now. I gotta do this now, right? Because you're getting your energy back, you're starting to feel a little better. You're like, it's time to get back to business as usual. Anytime we're talking about Saturn, it's business as usual. um, and it's not necessary, right? Or it's not really real. It's not as real as it might feel. So remember to go with the flow. Keep in mind that things are slowly picking up. And so as you're feeling rushed to do something, stop and think, is it really? Can it wait? Can I call to slow something up? Tell them I'm going to be a little late. Things of that nature. Um, Before you just start rushing into things. Um, and then Wednesday, we're going to have a lot of Pluto activation. And the reason why this Pluto activation joining Saturn and Venus and all this energy during this time, just before this new moon, is important is because Pluto's currently in Capricorn, but it is going to move into Aquarius for a very short period of time, but still very important in March. And it's given us a glimpse of what we are going to be working towards once it officially moves into Aquarius, which I think is in January of 2024. And so I think we're wrapping up Pluto and Capricorn cycle. It's going to intensify because now everything is going to be like, the way that I see this is projectile, when somebody throws up and it's like uncontrollable, where everything's gonna be coming out. Pluto and Capricorn is like, we gotta get all this shit out from the last 20 years that we've been hiding, hasn't really been uncovered. Like, we gotta wrap it up, we gotta put some closure to it. We gotta close that cycle. And so we can again feel rushed with Pluto activating this new moon, or being a part of the activation of this new moon in Aquarius, where it's like, um, what? Just say it and get it out of the way, and then nobody can say that we didn't tell. So again, remember to go with the flow, be open and flexible. Try not to take anything on face value until about mid-February, even March. I hate to say that, but that's just the truth. Um, and remember that Pluto is still wrapping up, even though it's indirect, it's still wrapping up a 20-year cycle. That's the past, right? And so even though you are going to have these new clear visions on how to deal with things with this new moon in Aquarius, I think it's going to be dope overall. I will have horoscopes for you, and I will be doing a live sometime this week, maybe by Wednesday. So make sure you are subscribed to my YouTube channel, which you can get the link in the bio to check that out for more information. But um, um, you're gonna have new stuff, but at the same time, wherever Pluto and Capricorn or your Capricorn area of life is still wrapping up and understanding what the heck that was all about, right? Um, And so on a global scale, we can see the government doubling down on not giving their power away. That's going to be very interesting to see how that all plays out. Not really. I'm being very funny when I say that because I don't think it's going to be funny at all. On a personal level, this is the death of the ego, especially when it comes to our career and our long-term goals and plans around our career, becoming a business, starting a business, even yeah, I said that right. Um, and we're really going to start to realize what needs to change and what needs to end so that we can move into more stable, even sustainable change. So a lot of transformation going on here, or you get like that Phoenix rising energy where you're starting to see things from a higher vantage point. Um, there could be death of a solar figure. It could be the Lisa Presley thing, right? Because Pluto and Capricorn, the sun, this is definitely somebody of status, high status, like a president, a king, uh somebody famous. And it could be the Lisa Presley thing because she was the king, Elvis as the king's daughter. That can be seen as the same thing. But we could see another death, unfortunately. I hate to say that, of somebody very well known. Um, or this could be a woman. that has some kind of sickness that's pretty bad in the news. Um, um, we can also see a lot of government sex scandals, unjust accused and arrested, things around that. Um, all the darker sides of Pluto, sex trafficking. Oh, I mean, it's 20 years, right? Use your imagination. It's gonna be a lot, right? Um, that's just gonna come out like again, projectile. People just spilling the beans, they're tired, they're fed up. People are gonna feel like I need to profess or confess something that needs to come to light, right? Um, um, and then Mercury goes direct this day. Um, and then Thursday, you got a lot to talk about, especially when it comes to the long term, or your long term plans. And you might not like the feedback that you get. Remember, we're still waking up from retrograde planets. Um, and anytime you have an overwhelming amount of any kind of energy, it's not just that it's Uranus, unfortunately. Again, people aren't thinking straight. They got a lot on their own damn plate and still trying to unravel and understand. And anytime we're talking about the moon, these are decisions and your thought process and whether or not that's aligned with your heart and what it is you truly want. So be patient with people, be patient with yourself. And if you have the opportunity to do some internal work or kind of separate yourself, this might be a really good time to do that so that you can hear the messages that are trying to come through to you during this time. Have a pen and paper, write shit down, or do your little voice notes, whatever you have to do, because it's going to go fast. Any kind of Uranian energy and planets going direct, it's going to be like, so you might need that alone time to catch it. Otherwise, it can look like you're being abrupt or rude or not really want to hear what people say because you're trying to catch. You're like, wait, something's trying to come through and you're trying to be shut up. And it might not come out in that kind of way, but it could feel like that, right? Um, And so you might not like somebody's feedback. So remember, this might not be the time to have a conversation, but just know if you need to get it out, write it down. Write it down for now. Again, record yourself for now. Have the conversation at a later date. And then Friday, it's Aquarius season. Oh, okay, let me stop. Happy birthday, Aquarius. um, we'll be more focused on the group, the collective, all the social fucking activist shit. Tired of y'all motherfuckers. I just had to say that. But I appreciate what you're trying to do in real life. No, I don't. I think we need to change that shit heavily. But that's just my 2 cents. Be talking all about that shit. Um, the collective, Aquarius rules the people, being rebellious, your friendships, and your goals. So those themes are going to be heavily what people are focusing on at this time. And even as a community, not so much as yourself, which can be interesting. I'm willing to see what it brings though. So we'll see. And then Saturday, um, is the actual new moon in Aquarius, which is very independent. It's about justice, community, and action. It questions the status quo, and people are going to want to come up with innovative ideas that challenge traditional ways of thinking and doing things. Um, we're really going to want to detach from the third dimension and not get caught up in the rat race. That's going to be interesting because that's probably most likely what the government's going to try to block, which I already think they have things in place, but more for that on the Aquarius New Moon conversation. Um, It's a time to embrace change and do things differently, have honest communication. And then you just got to remember again on the lower vibration, unfortunately, any kind of Uranus activation is disruption, fear, anxiety, overthinking, sudden changes, sudden unexpected changes, surprises, um, that could rattle any plans that you currently have right now and for the future. That's not to be seen as a bad thing. That's just Uranus's way of waking people up to say, wait, you might be able to do it even more innovatively than what you're thinking about. And it could be a disruption that is there to disrupt or disturb the things that you got going on. You have to be able to discern and know the difference, and how to work with that energy. And I'll go more into all of that stuff during the new moon conversation. The best thing you can do is just try to go with the flow. Don't overthink. And again, if you want your weekly astrology sent to you specifically using your birth chart, make sure you send me an email for more information. Be ready to be open and honest. Or if you want more weekly astrology instead, that's just generalized. I can start doing that again. I just wasn't getting a lot of responses, so I didn't think people really cared. But if you think it'll be helpful for you moving forward, just put a yes in the comments below. I'll be more than happy to do that. As usual, family, I love and appreciate you. I hope you found this information helpful. Peace.